So welcome back, everyone. And we are now going to be talking with David Fischer, who's also been on my show many times. And he is the CEO of Landmark Capital Gold Group. Welcome back to the show.
Carol, thank you again for having me on your show.
I love having you on the show. I mean, and I am the person that never understands this kind of stuff, and I love listening to you because you make it understandable. Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I've been in the precious metal industry now for 21 years, and I'm the CEO of my company, Landmark Capital Gold Group, which goes by Landmark Capital. And we have all the accolades you could have being in business. We're accredited members of the Better Business Bureau A+ rating. In my industry, there is a ICTA, which stands for Industry Council Tangible Assets. That's the watchdog, and to be a member, you have to buy in for membership, and you have to go through the criteria of being a member, and so we passed all their tests. We're also members of American Numismatic Association. I personally am, and our company is members of two grading companies called PCGS and NGC. I've been on lots of radio before in the past, KFNN.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, 1510. KFYI, I've been on Jim Sharp's program quite a bit. And in fact, I just texting Jim today. He just signed on the 9 to 11 hour on this radio station, KFNX.
See, there you go.
He's a syndicated talk show host.
Everybody's going
now.
thumbs up.
He comes back to the local area, and I've been on his program several times, so you probably hear me at the 9 and 11 o'clock hour here coming up. But done lots of radio, lots of seminars, done a lot of public speaking, and I get the honor to be with you again.
I love that. I absolutely love that, and I appreciate it. Now, we're going to open up the lines to the audience for people to either call in and ask questions or not, but you have something that you've talked about, and today you're going to be giving it away again. It's awesome. Tell them about it.
Well, we have a piece of pamphlet that I put together. It's called a white paper. It's called The Coming Bail-In, which is, in essence, all the pieces of the puzzle. And since I wrote this, there's more things that have come together. Actually, I should do an update, even though everything was set up accordingly to be done at any moment now. August 13th of last year, the Federal Reserve announced that. The bail-in is opposite of a bailout. We bailed out AIG, we bailed out Fannie Mae, they were in trouble, we bailed out General Motors, we came to the rescue, gave them money. The bail-in is the opposite of that. America's in trouble financially. We're not taking very good care of our house financially speaking. We're $18.2 trillion in debt. There's 12 countries in the world that have already done this bail-in in the last 5 years. And instead of a country coming to a country and giving them money, like we did Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, etc., the country goes within and seizes their citizens' bank accounts and retirement accounts. Poland, Greece, Cyprus, Italy, I can name all 12 of them, but there's 12 of them that have happened, and this is all mainstream media. Our country has been setting this up for the last 10 years, most effectively since 2008, and now it's all ready to be done. So they can now legally seize your bank account. I know your eyes get big every single time.
I hate that.
I was just talking with Doc, your former interview, and he was saying, how can they do this? The simple question is this: there's all these laws that get passed in Congress with pork on them. And the law that got passed was the Dodd-Frank Act. And so the Dodd-Frank Act was supposed to help protect Americans from bad banking practices, leverage money, and bad Wall Street practices, leverage money. Lehman Brothers and the banking industry almost collapsed if we wouldn't have had a government bailout. So the Dodd-Frank Act went into place and passed a law that says now the money that's in your bank account legally is no longer yours. It's the asset of the bank and the asset of the mortgage of the brokerage company. So they can bail in because they legally own that now.
And I don't know what I would do if that would happen to me. I know, Doc, everybody is shaking their heads. Now, our lines are open here, and everyone who's calling in, you can either ask a question or not. We want you to get this. We want this to be in everyone's hands because you need to get this information and know about it, read about it, be educated on these things. He wrote the paper. It's the white paper. It's the Coming Bail-In, How to Protect Your Retirement and Bank Accounts from Government Seizure. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. I think everyone should at least Get this information and read it. And then you can decipher. You do free consultations.
Absolutely.
So you know what? You can talk to them after about that, and you just get the information and see where you're at with it and what you think. Again, our number here is 602-277-5369. You can also check him out on his website, which is landmarkgold.com. You can call him direct at 602-287-9200. You can also call him toll free at 877-448-2646. Okay, let's go in today. What you want to talk about?
I want to mention something at the beginning of our program here that I want to, every time I'm on your show, I want to talk a little bit about history, because history has a way of repeating itself, and repeating itself is almost of a sure thing. There's great days in history, and there's something, did you know what happened today in history? It was the end of the Civil War.
Today?
June 2nd. Now, some people
I
like to
should've known
debate
that.
it might have been April 9th when General Robert E. Lee signed the treaty to relinquish his army to the Northern Virginian Army at the time. But there were still battles after that. But the actual last fight ended when the General Edmund Kirby Smith laid down his weapons and surrendered, and that was the last actual fight of the Civil War. Now, here's what was happening. Most people think that the Civil War was over slavery, and you're probably wondering, what's this got to do with gold?
I just was going to ask that, but I didn't want to ask you anything, and I figured, no.
Bear with me, because you're going to see how this ties totally into exactly what the Federal Reserve is doing right now. Around the Civil War times, they were doing the same thing, because history will repeat itself. What happened, the North had all the gold in the banking system. New York, our big banks were New York and Denver. And we also had a bank out in San Francisco, and that's where the gold rush was at. There was only one small bank in Georgia, DeLonghi, that had any amount of gold, and it was a very small amount of gold. The South didn't have very much gold at all, and gold and silver was our money system along with paper money. So there was not enough money to fund the war in the South, and that's one reason why they lost. To buy bullets and ammunition and food and medical supplies. So what they did instead, because they couldn't get shipments of gold in because they were blocked by the North, they started printing money. In fact, they started printing so much money they caused massive inflation in the South during the Civil War, that there was an underground financial system that money, $20 gold pieces, from the North went to the South and were actually trading for twice as much value as a $20 bill in the South, Confederate money. So what happened when the war ended, the North said, let's help out our country, the South, and a steamship called the SS Republic was loaded up with gold, $400,000 at the time in 1865 in October, of gold and silver coins that were minted at the U.S. Mint in New York. They went on a steamship and it hit a hurricane. The hurricane hit the ship and the ship sank. The hoard was discovered later in 2003 called the SS Republic, and that $400,000 of gold was valued at $180 million in 2003. Of course, it's now a lot more, but that tells you the story of here's the ramifications of how a bank gets out of problems. They try to, they actually don't get out of problems by inflating their currency. And gold is the one that comes to the rescue. We're seeing the Fed do the same thing. They've inflated the currency in the last 5 years, $4.5 trillion. They've inflated at 77-to-1 ratio is what they're leveraged at, and they were at 22-to-1 leverage in 2011 before they started this. So we're gearing up for a major financial problem, and the fix, once again, will be gold, which is why China is setting up their World Gold Bank.
So before we go to a break, quickly, obviously, we need to do something, and that is to secure our money, and that would be?
I was saying, the country will probably never back its currency by gold, so you become your own bank. Buy some gold, buy some silver, back your own currency by gold. Take that ownership and your future into your hands, and don't trust the Federal Reserve. Don't trust the government for its debt reduction. Do it for yourself, because we know they won't.
He does free consultations with everybody. He's also offering for everyone who's calling in his white pages. He wrote it, and it is The Coming Bail-In, How to Protect Your Retirement and Bank Accounts from Government Seizure. And we believe, and ever since you've been coming on, I really believe that everybody should know about this, and even people that I know, that I got these from you, I've been handing them out. because I believe that everybody needs to get this information, read the information, and then talk to him. See what you think about this. And again, his number is area code 602-287-9200. Toll free, it's 877-448-2646. It's landmarkgold.com, and you can call here. You can ask a question, chime in or not. We want to get you this coming bail-in and the information on it at 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. So welcome back. We are talking with David Fischer. He's the CEO of Landmark Capital Gold Group, and we have our lines open here for people to get this. I think, again, I'm going to say it, I think every single person out there should get this in their hands and read it and see what you think about it. You can either chime in and talk to us or not. That's up to you. But everyone should get it. It's becoming bail-in, how to protect your retirement bank accounts from government seizure. And it could happen. It can happen any day, really. It sounds like. Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. At the break, we were talking a little bit about financials and how it relates to Obamacare.
Yeah, they passed Obamacare, and obviously it's a financial challenge. I don't know if you heard the news today, but the healthcare industry stocks are taking a beating because now they're having to go before Congress. This is coming up real soon for the 2016 budget, because they're not making enough money and they need to raise premiums because of the Obama healthcare, as much as 30%, they're saying. This is AP Associated Press saying this.
So now you really have to be dead in order to go to a doctor.
Yep, no, but it's supposed to pay for itself. That's what the whole thing was. But we're finding out that's not the truth, because there's not enough money in the government to pay for this, so they're putting it again on the backs of the citizens. I talked about this a long time ago. This is the financial side. The bail-in is the financial side of the socialistic healthcare Obamacare. That's all it is. The same 12 countries that had healthcare socialism went financial socialism, because the country couldn't pay for itself. This is why President Obama and his beliefs, I'm not here to put him down, Bush was laid the foundation for some of this by passing the Dodd-Frank Act. And so it's not just one president. We've actually gone through about 4 presidents. We've gone 16 years, or not 4 presidents, we've gone about 16 years. And this is the problem. Our country thinks in terms of 4 years. China thinks in the terms of decades. We're not dealing with our financial issues beyond 4 years, and you can't fix our financial debt in 4 years. So what happens, they don't come up with a plan. That's why you've been seeing this big argument for the last 7 years, 6.5 years, between Democrats and Republicans, because nobody can see they can fix it in 4 years, so they just argue about it. And the can gets kicked down the road, and then the debt gets kicked higher. Well, the day of reckoning is soon coming. And I believe it's going to happen in the next year and a half, because what's going to happen is going to start getting triggered in October, maybe in September, because we're going to revisit what happened in 2011, where we got a credit crisis happening, and we might even see another 2008. In fact, all the people are coming out and saying, from Goldman Sachs, saying we're getting ready for a big stock market correction coming. The economy really is not growing. And you can't grow an economy, evidenced by what they did in the Civil War, by printing money. You can't grow an economy by printing money. The economy has not grown. It's a false precedence of America getting back to work. But in the people you talk to, we haven't got back to work. The jobs are not there. The economic behavior of sound money principles are not there. And it hasn't been there some time. And so what's happened here recently is China is saying, I can't continue to hold U.S. debt. I got to protect ourselves, and that's why they set up an Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank that just happened here March. Well, they started in November, but they set it up in March, and 50 countries signed on. So China, who thinks in terms of decades, and by the way, Ben Bernanke is in China, Hong Kong today, saying that the quantitative easing really didn't work. And I don't blame you, China, for setting up your bank, because we understand that we only think in terms of 4 years. I'm paraphrasing this.
They don't care about us.
No, but so this is what's happening. China's buying enormous amounts of gold. They're seeing something's going to happen in the next 1 to 10 years. We might get the dollar replaced. And so how this practically comes down to rest for American citizens is really simple. A $20 bill and the $20 gold coin in the 1920s were the same purchasing power. You could have bought either 400 loaves of bread or a brand new man's suit. Today, we're off a gold standard. We have been since 1971 under Nixon. A $20 gold coin today, if you liquidate it, is going to be worth $1,300 in the worst case condition. A $20 bill is still only worth $20.
Right.
I can't buy 400 loaves of bread or a brand new suit for a $20 bill, but I can cash my gold in and get $1,300 and buy a nice suit and buy 400 loaves of bread and still take my wife out to dinner. Gold holds its value, and most of this value has changed in the last 14 years. Why? Exactly what I've been saying is finally the house of cards are piling up. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to wake up tomorrow and the dollar's going to crash, but we're going to have more financial challenges than less. So ignore these people that are saying it's all fixed and we're all fine, because it will be all fine when our debt is not 18.2 trillion and it's at 3 trillion or 2 trillion or 1 trillion or 5 trillion, but not doubling, almost doubling under a presidency.
So it sounds to me like every man to himself.
It is that. And I love our country. I love what our country stands for. But unfortunately, the financial side of our country is not in alignment with what our forefathers first set up our country to be, based upon just weight and measures, based upon biblical standards, based upon a whole group of other standards that we do not have right now economically and some morality speaking. But talk about economics today. We don't have the economics, we don't have an engine of America that is paying its way.
This sounds like it's going to hurt everybody. Like, you know, sometimes when things happen, it only hurts like the middle class or the upper, or usually the lower class or middle class. You know what I mean?
It's going to hurt everybody because it's centering around the currency of our country called the U.S. dollar. And that's what this is all about. The dollar needs to be held to be supported. And if countries are backing away from supporting the dollar, we have to figure out a way to find a person or countries or enough countries an incentive to hold the dollar. Well, recently the dollar's gone up artificially because the government and the Fed produced a movement of it moving up. But it's an artificial movement. It's not based upon fundamentals. It's based upon it's the last currency out there that maybe might be the best to hold. But what's happening is, in this environment, other currencies are saying, we can compete because we know deep down fundamentally you don't have a game plan to get out of your financial mess, America. And that's what China is doing. So they're slowly putting it all together. In 2005, they backed away from buying U.S. dollars for the first time. In 2010, they said we're going to buy gold. In 2008, back a few years, they said let's set up a gold exchange called the Shanghai Exchange. In 2010, they said let's get 1,000 tons of gold. They got that 1,000 tons of gold. In 2015, today, now they have 3,500 tons of gold. This year, they're going to set up a gold exchange like the London Fix, like the Hong Kong Fix, you know. They're going to set up an international exchange this year. Reuters announced on February 27th. They set up their World Bank here in March. They got 50 countries. They are putting all their ducks in a row for the next leg, and you will see, I mark my words, in the next 1 to 5 years, I will say, a currency power change from the United States to China.
People that buy gold, explain how that works when they're buying, and I'm just talking for somebody that may not know. And most people may know, but there's a lot of people out there. We only have a little time, but to what happens when you're buying, let's say, blocks of gold, and where, you know, that gets put, and things like that.
We make it so simple. I have a group of people at my company that all have been in the industry for quite some time. One has been in business longer than I have, and I've been doing it for 21 years. So all my associates have experience and they're well trained, and they will sit down with you and ask you. I developed a thing called a financial blueprint, and that's in our literature. It's something I'm trademarking, and what it is, it's a simple plan. If you wouldn't dare build your house without a blueprint, it'd be a mess. And yet people invest without any plan. So I build a thing called a financial blueprint, which in essence is a detailed, tailor-made entry strategy. I ask 6 to 12 questions. They're going to ask me a bunch of questions, and based upon those answers and the questions that both of us ask each other, we start to get a feel of, oh, what kind of investor am I working with? Is he or she a high risk investor, or are they a low risk? Are they looking at, they need a lot of liquidity? Are they looking short term? Are they looking long term? What is long term? What is short term to them? What are their goals? And so then we put them into the right product based upon who they are.
Now, he does free consultations with everyone. I'm going to let everyone call throughout the rest of the show for this. It is his white paper, The Coming Bail-In, How to Protect Your Retirement and Bank Accounts from Government Seizure, and it's going to happen. 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Check him out at landmarkgold.com.